Hi there and welcome back. So today in this course we are going to learn something really special, and that something is an entire full-fledged full stack course. My apologies that I was not uploading something during this period of 2 months, but trust me, I was developing a syllabus so that I can make a better course for you. So this course generally aims at the front end, the back end, the complete architecture, as well as a connection with the database. But after seeing in this industry, after working here in the entire industry, what I've seen is we don't have much of the examples how to create a full-fledged product within Angular, FastAPI with Python and Oracle database. So here we will be developing a project which will give you an idea how you should work in a space where we have such things. So in this course, we are grabbing few of the very important concepts, that's the Angular, the NGRX Redux world, alongside our backend, which is on Python and FastAPI, and within Oracle database. So these are the technologies what you are going to learn. So stay tuned in the entire course if you want to learn everything and if you want to excel in your career. So let's start with this course. And before that, who am I? I'm Siddhartha Verma, experienced software engineer from past 10 years. My expertise are into the front end and in the back end and in the entire full stack mobile app development. So here is the entire destination where you can find front end, back end, full stack, hybrid application, mobile application, everything for free. So let's start. So if you see over here, we have this Angular and we'll start with the Angular thing. Alongside the Angular, we'll also have a Python as a backend. So make sure that Python is installed on your system. So the setup process for the Python is very simple. You go to the downloads and you hit the download for Windows option. Simply hit next and it should get downloaded. If you have any problem while downloading and installing Python, do please leave some comments in the comment section below. Otherwise, I will leave a readme note in the repository or in the channel description where you can find the entire solution guide. And if you also want to see such things, you can go on my channel. Let's search for it. You go to the youtube.com, just like this. And here on the YouTube, if you go to my channel, let's see, here you will also get entire thing regarding Python as well. So if you go to the playlist, in the playlist, if you scroll a bit down, you will see this Python Bootcamp. Here also you can get everything what you seek to. So let's get started. Okay, so once Python is done, how you can verify it? Go to the command prompt, or in my case, I love to use PowerShell. So on the PowerShell, click on Run as Administrator, click Yes, and here's the PowerShell. And if you write Python, you should have the Python terminal. And over here, you will be clearly able to see that Python version over here is 3.11.6. So that's fine. Another thing is FastAPI. This is a REST enabled API microservices framework. What we will be using over here with Python to write our APIs. So this is our FastAPI, and this is what we are going to use. Okay, and alongside we are going to use an Oracle database. Yeah, industry-leading Oracle database. So it's going to be a huge project. So I'm aiming this project in such a way that if you have this project, you will cover all the aspects for an IT career. The front end, the library, the UI library, the backend, the programming, the REST-enabled API, Swagger Docs, Postman, Oracle. This is the one single course which can help you to be a full stack developer. Or if you are already a developer, this stack is missing from the YouTube. So this stack will help you to get the right, correct software development experience, how you deal with such things with this project example. Okay, so before this, let me start by talking about REST API, because if our data is present with us, then only we can deal with our front end. So let's create some example. So onto the Fast API, we are going to work with this Fast API. And in order to work with the Fast API, what I recommend is you should go to your browser and download Anaconda. You should download Anaconda just like this. And this Anaconda is a distributor, is a platform, is a framework kind of thing where you can get all the important things, such as if you are a data science developer, so many projects, packages are available for you in data science. If you want to deal with AI or if you want to deal with the entire Python ecosystem, the frameworks, everything, it will help. Okay, so what I want to do right now over here is I want to go with free download. And in this free download, let's click on the skip registration. Let's click on this. And over here, you need to choose the platform what you are working on. Currently, for this tutorial, I'm going to go on and continue with the Windows version. But please feel free. You can choose any of the versions which you are on. And if I get some, let's say, positive 500 comments on this entire course, that please make it with Mac or with Linux as well. I will definitely try to wrap the entire course with that operating system as well. But because majority of us are using Windows, that's why I will continue downloading the Windows version. So once that's in place, the download should get started. Okay, if you can click on the downloads, you can see that it will range around 904 MBs. Just download this thing. It will take some time. But before that, let's choose our editor. So for Python, I prefer using PyCharm. PyCharm is full feature-packed IDE which we should use for Python. VS Code is simply good, no problem. But this is specially designed for Python. So if you want to work anything in Python, PyCharm is the way to go. So if I can click on this PyCharm, here you will find a community edition. So don't download this one. Okay, you just click on the downloads, scroll down and download the community version. So this community version is a free to use tool. So that means you do not need to pay a single penny for this to use lifetime. It's a lifetime free edition. So I'm downloading this. So my tools are getting downloaded. There's no problem. And with that, make sure that you have Node.js installed to your system. So Node.js is a JavaScript runtime environment, and you need this tool in order to run Angular. So Node.js has updated their website and it looks good. By the way, I'm also creating my own website and I'm launching one product which will be on entire, that's a surprise, but that's especially for developers. So stay tuned for that with my channel. Okay, and definitely, if you haven't seen a Angular project, should go to my playlist, and here you should check out this clone. This has received a good amount of views, around 4,000 views, and you should definitely check out the hot selling course, which is the clone apps. And in the clone apps, I tried to clone Angular quite a year or couple of years ago, and it has something around 23,000 views. That's good. Please support and do subscribe. So if I go to my downloads, I'm going to get this IDE downloaded, and let's set a IDE. First of all, in order to run this project, you need to be very patient because here I'm going to explain each and everything. Just stay tuned because in shortcuts, nothing is going to happen. You need to be clearly good in your patience level. Then only you can learn something great. So those whoever are dedicated into this industry, just follow this course. You do not need rest everything. Everywhere is just a sake of small projects. Here is that technology, this course is in those technologies which are required by industries. Okay. So my Anaconda is done. Let's click on open file. And now this should get me the download. You can see over here, Anaconda. Okay. Okay, let's click next. I agree. I recommend using this just me. You do not want any other user to use it. You can download it where you want. Add anaconda to path variable. Just click on this. Okay, so this is done now, and Yeah, for now it's good. I will click on install, and this will now install the entire all the required packages to your system. So this scene, this area is really important. Why? Because this place you shouldn't shut down your computer or shouldn't do any rubbish thing so that this setup get uh, crap. Okay, so let's go to our browser, and we also have this PyCharm. So if you can click on open file, this will now allow me to install PyCharm on my system. So let this thing get booted up. Good. Let's click on yes. Click on next. Again, click on next. I add PyCharm this, create associations, and add bin folder path. When I click on next, again next, and this will also install Python IDE on my system. Now, the main thing I like about the backend is you can create your own microservices and you can create your REST APIs, and then you can monitor yourself how well they will perform. Okay, and that's your own data source, your own backend, your own database, so you have proper control. If you need me to to make some project on Azure or on AWS hosted platforms as well, some backend, do leave a comment section below. And if I receive a good amount of comments for that project as well, I will do it. But right now, whatever I'm trying to teach, that is also very important. Okay, so do learn it properly. So this thing, and I'm not skipping this part because I want you to see how much time it can take on Windows platform. Okay, so let this thing do its job, and till that time, we can obviously start with our GitHub repository sign up as well. So for this, let's go to our private window. And in the private window, I will say GitHub login. I want you to please sign up on GitHub so that you can receive the project. I will set up over here. Let me just type my password. And once you type your password, then you can do MFAs if you want. I've done my MFAs, so let me just grab one of the codes from the code. So it's cool. And now let's create a new repository. And in the new repository, I would like to create, and let's make it public so that you can view it. So let's make it FS stands for full stack. So I can say full stack. I can do it full stack. NG stands for Angular, or let me do it full stack dot Angular dot Python dot Oracle dot project. Let's keep it quite simple. Okay, and yeah, and let's create this repository. And now our repository creation is also done. And I will reboot this and I can click on next and everything is done. Cool, perfect. Now, once the installation is done, I would then like to go to my start and now click on your PyCharm, whatever you have installed. So here I can click on PyCharm and this should now start my IDE. So PyCharm, and it's the Community 2024 edition. So this is what you get. I click on confirm, I click on continue, I click on don't send any information. And in here, we are now going to create a project. Now, in order to create this project, what I will do is I will now go here and I will click on download for. So we need a GitHub client from where we can manage our project. I believe for fork, you can do GitHub, you can go for source tree, you can go for GitHub desktop or any other tool of your choice. Or if you want, you can also manage the project from CMD. That's also available. So that's my fork. Let's open this setups and yeah, let's create your name. For example, I will create finders. Let's create the email you want to use. Let's say it's code Delhi at the rate gmail.com. And let's you can now have a folder where you want to manage all of your apps. I will create a Git, and here I want to manage all my projects. Let's hit on finish, and this will now prepare the area for fork to be used. Now, once you have this area, now you can go to your signed up page where you were using that login. And in here, if you go to the code, okay, if you copy this entire link from here, copy, and now you can click on files, clone, and you can click on test connection. And now test connection succeeded, and now click on clone. So here I have my project set it up, and now what I will do is here I will click on open and open. I will click on open. I will click on open, and now I will simply go for this Git folder and click on OK. And let's try once more. So it will be Git, and in here this project folder, trust project. And now this is fine. So my file is ready. Now I don't want this main file right now. So I will click here and I will click on delete because I want a special structure for my code. So now this is my project folder, and so that you can easily view this folder, let me just make it a little bit Pythonish style. So yeah, let's go to the settings. In the settings, I will go for the light version so that you can view all the code what we are writing. I will click on the UI. I want the compact mode, and I click on apply. That's good. And in here, if I go to the quickly, I go to the editor. In the editor, if you can find fonts, and in the fonts, I will go for monospaced fonts because I love that to code in monospace. So let's apply, and yeah, so we have the monospaced, and let's increase the font size as well so that I can view it much more better. That's really good. And in here, I don't see that we need anything else. You can go for font size, and under the editors we have applied it. And in here, use custom font, and I can go for again monospaced. So if I type M, I should get monospaced. Please, where are you? Monospaced. I need this, and the size should be 14 enough. Let's click on apply, and now all looks good. But please feel free if you need anything else in here. You can definitely play around with settings. Okay, I like this one, so you can definitely see which one looks better to you. But for now, we'll go with this one. Okay, now once this area is done, now in the Fullstack, I will now create a couple of folders. So one of my directory over here would be angular.csr because we are going to create a client-side rendered thing .ui. So this is my first directory. Then another directory for me would be to have Oracle. Sorry, not Oracle, the Python backend. So it will be fast.api.cloud. Let's hit enter. So this is my backend. This is my front end. And I also like to maintain a directory for all of my SQL queries. So SQL, I will give one folder over here with SQL, and this is pretty much it. If I need anything else, I will make new files. But first of all, I'm interested in this FastAPI.cloud. So if I click over here and I will now click a new Python file, which I will name as server.py, and I will add this to my Git as well. And as soon as I've added this to the Git, you can see here that I'm getting some files. So let's do a first commit, and let's first of all these idea files, click here on ignore and ignore all files, and this should add a new git ignore. Add this file, and now we do our first commit, bravo commit, and we push also. Okay. Now to view all of your commits, what you have to do is go to the all commit session, and in the all commits, you will view the first commit, and you can also view who did this and what all changes were done in here. Good. Now, once this file is here, now we are ready to write something interesting. So let me just increase font, or I can zoom in as well. So 115, 125, okay. So now I'm zoomed in, and if you want, I can switch back to dark mode so that it's easier on eyes. Easier? Okay. Now, in order to write the code, I should now also adjust few more settings. I think for monospaced, I think it was working fine for me on Mac OS, but on Windows it looks a bit weird. So let me just. I have one more thing, which is Fira code. So we can also go for Fira code, and let's hit on apply. Okay, and now we can also decrease the zoom levels. Okay, and in here, let's also go for the editor's fonts, and in the fonts, let's go for the Fira code. So Fira code will be easy to do. That's what I've seen. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Now we shall start writing something. And with this, I will also do one more thing. Let's go to the settings. And in the settings, if you go to appearances, click on enable ligature, and this will allow us to write all the comparisons beautifully. Okay, so now once this thing is done, now what I would recommend is we need to now start downloading some packages. And first of all, before doing this, we need to create a environment, a Python environment where all of our packages will be downloaded. Now, if you see over here, this is something known as base. Why? Because base is one Conda environment. So if we want to view what all environments are available, what all containers where all of our packages are downloaded and fitted into the container, what all containers do we have right now? So to view that, we can do something like Conda env list, and this will give us all the list. So for now, we want to create another environment. So what we can do, conda env-n, and now you want to give the name of your environment, like what environment you want to create as a new environment. So for now, and let's create. Command will change a bit. Conda create dash and the name of your environment. So my name of the environment will be for example, CF stands for Create Finders dash. I will do FS dash A for Angular, P for Python, O for Oracle, environment. So this is my environment, what I'm trying to now create. So now this will create a environment. Click on yes, and now this has a new environment. So if I click on conda env list, this should show me cfs apo, and I will now do conda activate cfs apo. Hit enter, and now you should see. Let me click on clear. Yeah, you should see this environment being set up. Now, once the environment is settled, now we can go on and download few of the packages. First of all, we were going to download our FastAPI framework. So in order to do that, go to the FastAPI, and if you go down, you should click on Get Started. So if you click on the installation, here you will get some installation criteria, what you want to do. So here I will now click on pip install FastAPI. Let's copy this command, come here and click on pip install FastAPI. So now this FastAPI will be downloaded in here, into our project, okay, into this environment, whatever you have created. And also we need a Python FastAPI server, which will boot our entire FastAPI. So we install UbiCon. Good. So our installation is now done. Now, if you want to see our, like in Node.js, whatever packages we work upon, like we work on React, we work on Angular, we have a package.json file to manage all the packages. The same way, FastAPI or Python has a package name as has a file name as requirements.txt. We are going to create that. So we go to CD. Okay, we go to CD and we want to CD to our first folder, and in here we need to do something like pip freeze requirements.txt. Hit enter, and now this will create a dependency file for you, like what all dependency are required for the project. Okay, so this has the entire dependency. So whatever we require to create such things, this will help. So we can leave this file as it is. We can leave this file as it is. And now we first of all need to check if a file works. We can do print and we can say hello Python. Let's see if this works. Let's click on save. Let's click on play button. And now we also, because this play button is different, current file, and now we click on play, you can see hello Python. So our file is working. So for our REST API, this was everything based on the installation purpose. Thanks for watching, and I will now see you in the next session of this course. So please leave all the comments or all the doubts in the comment section below, and we'll start with writing our first API. Thank you. So now we have seen that our Hello Python is working absolutely fine. Now we are ready to take for the first ever API, and that API for now will return us some records. So for example, let's create some records. I will take from typings import dict, Okay. And if you want to go into the typings, you can go to this module, and into this module you can find all the typings, but one by one we'll check which one should I take. So for now, let's keep it simple. Let's create some employees, for example, and this employees will be a list. And in this list, let's pass some dictionaries. So let's take emp id is equals to 1, and my emp name is equal to, for example, Rakesh. Let's duplicate a few of the records. Okay, let's simply uh, oh god, yeah, because I use a different keyboard, that's why I'm not able to use my shortcuts, but no problem. So I've duplicated this, and let's see what all I can get. So Tommy, John, Weed, Tim, and Jason. Okay, so we have the names over here. So these are my names. And now let's also give a few of the employee IDs. So these are my IDs. So now we are having our employees list ready. And with this employees list, what we are going to do, we are going to provide it to our API. How can we create an API? So now you need to do something like from FastAPI import FastAPI. Okay, you need to return a FastAPI. And now what you would do is you need to make an app, and this app is going to be an instance. So this app is going to be an instance, and this instance will be generally for FastAPI. So you need to construct a FastAPI class over here. So that's what I'm doing. So I have constructed my FastAPI over here, and now using this app, I can create my first ever server. How I can do it? You need to do app dot get, and on slash I want to just on slash emps I am just gonna do return employees, and here we can say get employees like this, and let's create a function def get all employees. Okay, that's good, and then we pass this like this. Okay, so yeah, now I will click here and reformat the file, and now you can see that I have created my first API. So what is happening here? Let's see step by step. So in here, what we are doing is, if you see the line number 1, we are importing first API from first API package. On next line, we have created a dummy employees database for now, and we are having in total 6 employees in there. Then if you see this line, what this line is doing is, this line is generally having app is equal to fast API. So we have created an instance for this fast API class, and now using this app, we are doing a get request. So if now this alone won't do anything. So if I hit play for this thing, you see it haven't done anything good. For that, you need to do import uvcon just like this, uvcon like this, and now you need to take if name is equal to name. Then what I want to do is uvcon.run, and let's see what it could do now. So if I play on play button, if you see over here, nothing happens. Why? Because still we haven't given our run that way it should run. Like, okay, you have told that uvcon run, but what to run? Uvcon is asking to you what to run, what instance should I run? So this app should be passed in here. And now if I click on run, you can see that still there is no progress. Why? Because you also need to provide what all things you need in here. For example, I need the host, for example, to be 127.0.0.1, and then I need a port. For example, port is by default 8000, but let's do it 8000, write it something like this. And we need that we should reload whenever we do something good. Okay, whenever we do something good, we should always and always come here and try to return something. Okay, so here if you see, this is the basic syntax of writing your first API. So the first API runs something like this. So now with this, actually one more thing which is missing is in FastAPI, because FastAPI relies on an asynchronous network approach. That means whatever you do, whatever you write, FastAPI will tackle all of your situations asynchronously. That means, let's say to your API, we are sending some request, and at the same time, multiple users are sending the request. At that time, what will happen? Obviously, you need to handle all the requests separately. Okay. So in that case, just in that case, we are trying to achieve something like this. So if I close this and if I come to my terminal and if I clear everything like this, and if I now write Python server.py, so still nothing happens. But let me just tell you one more thing. Let's close this thing first of all. Let's dig into this run condition later on. But first of all, I would like to show you the CMD way. Okay, first of all, we'll go with the manual way, but then the programmatical way. So if you want to run this thing, how we can run this thing? We need to do uvcon, and first of all, we need to check if uvcon is there. So you can see that usage app. So we have the uvcon. So you need uvcon, okay, and now you need to tell which module, okay, which module should link your app. So it's server, okay, we have the server module. With that, link this app variable, and I want the reload condition. So if I hit enter, now you can see over here that uvcon is running on this. So if I go to this link, you can see that no details found. But if you go /docs, the main thing is it prepares a cool fast API. That means it by default gives you an integration with the fast API, open API JSON, and this helps you to directly link everything over here. So if I go in here and if I try try it out, if I try to execute, you can see that I get a list of data. So what is my route? This is a GET request. That means in HTTP, this is a GET request. We are not passing any body or any parameters to it. It just a GET employs the fact. And if we see when we hit execute, So what data I'm receiving? I'm receiving the entire data. Now, you might be thinking, okay, this is good, but what about adding a employee? So for that, what we can do is, if you go back to your Python, we can also add an employee. So in order to add an employee, what we need to do is just call your app dot, and now this is going to be a post request like this, and you can say create employee. And now again, one more function, create an employee, something like this. And now what I want to do is I want to create an employee, right? So when I want to create an employee, I need to pass some data from my API, from my interface, and then that data should be transported in here. So how we can do it, let's see that in this session. Now, the number one thing is whenever we want to explain to Python FastAPI that this is the main procedure, how I am expecting a user to send me the data through the API, okay, to send the data to the API. So that structure, like in TypeScript, we have the types, that structure is required from the developer to give to this language. And how can we do it? Using Pydantic. Yeah. So if you want, I will be following it in great details, but for your ease, if you wanted to get started, we can say it something like Pydantic. And this Pydantic is a data modeling. Okay, this helps you to create the data, how the data should be there. For now, we'll keep it simple. So, but let's go back to our code. And in here, what I want to do is I want to do something like from Pydantic import base model. So this is my base model. And now I want to explain how my employee looks. So for example, I can create a class. I can say this is employee. And this inherits from base model like this. And now you need to simply define the properties which will act as the interface to that API. So for example, I have EMP ID, and this EMP ID is going to be of type integer. My EMP name is going to be of type string. Okay, so this is my base model. Now I want to tell my post API, this API, which is create an employee, that my structure for the API is going to be something like this. So in here, what I can do is I can do response model is equal to employee. If you understand this thing. So I'm telling that the response, what I need, the model is going to be something like this. Now, when I have something like this, then I can easily do what? I can easily do something like employees employees dot append, and I can append the value which is given to me by user. But the main thing is how I am gonna accept that item. How? And that item I can accept from this function. For example, I say I'm going to get an employee in here. I say new employee, and the new employee is going to be of type employee. So whatever this API returns will be available to me in here. For now, what we do is, let's say we just try to print the value what user is sending to us. Let's print this thing and we return nothing. So because if you see my flag was set to reloading, so that's why this reloaded. And now if we can go to our API, go to the first API, if we try to reload, you can see that in the schemas. Please note where I'm trying to point to you. The backend is really crucial. So in here, we are pointing to this schema, this one. We are pointing to this schema. And now if you see this schema is nothing but a blueprint of the data. We need an employee ID, we need an employee name. So what happens if in here, in this employee, create employee, if I try to execute it without sending any values, if I execute this thing, you can see that nothing happens. And if we go back to our code, you see that we get some problem. And now when I have something like this, then I can easily do what? I can easily do something like employees employees dot append, and I can append the value which is given to me by user. But the main thing is how I am gonna accept that item. How? And that item I can accept from this function. For example, I say I'm going to get an employee in here. I say new employee, and the new employee is going to be of type employee. So whatever this API returns will be available to me in here. For now, what we do is, let's say we just try to print the value what user is sending to us. Let's print this thing and we return nothing. So because if you see my flag was set to reloading, so that's why this reloaded. And now if we can go to our API, go to the FastAPI, if we try to reload, you can see that in the schemas. Please note where I'm trying to point to you. The backend is really crucial. So in here, we are pointing to this schema, this one. We are pointing to this schema. And now if you see this schema is nothing but a blueprint of the data. We need an employee ID, we need an employee name. So what happens if in here, in this employee, create employee, if I try to execute it without sending any values, if I execute this thing, you can see that nothing happens. And if we go back to our code, you see that we get some problem. And the problem is FastAPI exception, response validation error, one validation error, log response message, none is not allowed value. So we get some exceptions as well. Now, how can we handle this exception and make this exception to appear in the responses? Because right now, if you see here, we only get internal server error and we are not facing the real problems. Like we are not getting what ideally here the thing should be. So for that, what I will do is let's come in here, and for this problem to get resolved, go to the try out section and I do something like, okay, I need ID of 10 maybe, and a name of, for example, Rocky. And in here, if I try to execute, let's check what happened. And it says that message none is not allowed value. Okay, and let's check if we get any value printed in here. So it's a response validation error because we need to return that employee, so my bad. And let's again try to run our app. Let's try to do a reload. Let's try it once again. Let's give it a 10 and let's give it something like Rocky, and let's try to execute. And now you see that in the responses I have Rocky inserted successfully. And now if I go and grab all of my values, you can see that in the data Rocky also appears. So Rocky in here is also available to me. So that's really cool. So this is how we have created something like this, but eventually this shouldn't be the case. Okay, but now this was one of the scenarios how you can create your app, but generally we would like to create our app with some real means. So that means you have often seen some projects that never ever we try to use our project. We never ever try to build anything directly into one file. We have a structure where, let's say, if I want to create something for employees, I have a separate directory. Let's say for designations, I will have a separate directory. So each and everything will contain their own separate directories, and that's missing right now from here. So how can we achieve those separations? How can we achieve those separations in here? So that's now another thing what we need to tackle. Before that, let's see that how programmatically, because without running this thing again and again, how programmatically we can run our app. So in here, let's simply click here and let's simply do if name is equal to main, and my app is in here. But with this, what I need to do is I need to bound my app. So instead of doing something like this, I need to do it that server. Within the server, my app resides. Now in here, you can do python server.py, just this command, and this should run your entire app. Now, there are few key notes to remember while running your app. Number one thing in here, what we can do is let's get rid of all these extra things. And now, once we have learned all these extra things, now we'll try to create our main area, like how everything should be done. Let's reformat the file. Okay, now how I would like to structure this thing, let's understand. So in here, what you can do is you can do something like my app is equal to server app, then my host is equal to this. Okay, my port is equal to suppose 5000, and my reload strategies is, for example, right now equal to true. Okay, and my log level for now is going to be debug. And now you can pass those areas in here, which looks to me really clean approach. So this is one of the cleanest approach you can follow for creating such APIs. Log level is equal to log level. And this is how I've created this thing. Okay, this is how I have created everything. So this is a better way of writing things. And also, instead of doing something like this, let's create in here, let's create a directory which will be a root, and in the root I can then say a file which is app.config.py. Okay, and in here, in this config file, let's place all of these variables in here. Okay, and in here, I want to just refactor, rename the file, and say it as app-config. So this is more understandable. And now in here, we can directly use, and because I want to make this root as a module, what I will do is I will do something like init.py, and I can add this product. This file, sorry. And now if you click over here, import this name, you can import the app. And before importing this, let me just change the apps to base app, which is more clear. So I can use something like base underscore app. And now this should get imported, and we can import it from root dot my server is here, so from dot root dot, and now you should able to see, and I think because we are using a newer version, it should be app.config.py refactor. Okay, and now from root.app-config. I can import base app, I can import host, I can import port, I can import reload, and I can import log levels. So this is a much more cleaner way of using such things. Okay, so this is what we have created right now. And right now we do not have anything, but what we can do is for the starters, we can do something like .app.get, and on the base we can do async dev boot app, and I can return a Python dictionary where I can say API version 1.0, API description. I can see the API description to be a REST microservice for create finders full stack project, and the author to be Siddhartha Verma @ create finders YouTube. And let's reformat the file. Now we can clearly start our file with this, and now this reloads, and if you visit this page, let's go to our browser, let's go directly to this page. Now you can see that I simply get this information, so whoever visits this page gets this information, and if I do some slash, then also I get this information. And if you try to visit the docs section, then boot app, and if you try to run this thing, if you try to execute, you get this information. So this was pretty much it regarding the first introduction to our FastAPI. We are surely gonna build a really amazing thing, but step by step we can encounter and we can do everything. So I will be in front of you publishing the entire code onto the um, GitHub, so that you can also take this code. Okay, first FastAPI learning commit. Okay, and I can commit this and I can push this code so that every one of you would receive this thing. So this was pretty much it regarding here. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next session of this course.